Welcome back, troops. Let's tab 59. Not a great day, but it's dry. So I want to talk about homelessness. But in particular, I mean, all homelessness is bad. It's awful when you see people on the streets. It shouldn't happen. But it's a plague all over the world. I think most countries have got the homeless problem. But I want to talk specifically, because I'm a veteran, about homeless veterans. And the government just announced, I think it's today, might have been yesterday, Prime Minister has pledged £3.2 million to aid homeless veterans in the United Kingdom. We'll see. It's not a lot of money when you consider what we're sending out to other places. You know, I'm a big believer in charity, but I'm a big believer in charity begins at home, and especially to veterans. It's estimated that in the UK, 3% of homeless people in the UK are veterans. 3%. So they reckon there's about 2,000 odd on the streets at the moment, roughly. And that's rising. Apparently that's rising by about 300 to 400 veterans a year. Now obviously some of those are getting housed. So it's, you know, but the figure at the moment is that's what they're saying. 3,000 on the streets, I think. 2,000 to 3,000 on the streets. It's going up 300 to 400 a year. It's an incredible amount of people. Now, what charities are out there? Well, there's loads. Of course, you've got the Royal British Legion, and I know how some people feel about them lately in the news with all the wages they're getting, etc. I don't know how true all that is. I don't know what to believe about that. So many conflicting reports about the Royal British Legion. But anyway, they're one of the charities that homeless veterans can turn to. And I know specifically, and I'll get onto a story about someone that I know got helped by the Royal British Legion. You've got soldiers off the streets, helping homeless veterans. There's so many different charities out there. The government's one, if you contact through the government gateway, it's Operation Fortitude. But if you go down that route, it's not actually the government that are doing anything. It's just a pathway for you to follow to get assistance. There's some local charities specific to your area. I know there's one up here. The name escapes me at the moment, but they just look after veterans off the streets in Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. They just deal with that area. So there's a lot of localised ones. Now, I was chatting to a veteran once who was homeless. He was in a tent. Had a good setup, to be honest. And I had a chat with him, to see if there's anything I could do. Couldn't do a lot. I got no money, but could I do anything for him? And I did. I give him some food. I bought him some food. I got him some bits from a shop and give it to him rather than give him the cash, because it was obvious that he had addiction of one sort or another. I wasn't sure. So I just went and bought him food and some water and gave him that, and he was grateful for it. And I sat down with him, had a fag, had a cup of tea. He made me a brew, and we did have a chat. And he'd done 15 years in the infantry. And when he come out, he was married, had children, bought a house, got a job, but he didn't settle. He didn't settle in Civvy Street, and started to get addictions, etc. Lost his job, which meant he was going to lose his house. He then lost his wife. He moved out, and his world just fell apart. And he told me it all happened basically from the time his relationship broke up. Within 3 weeks of that breaking down, he was on the street, and he'd been on the street for 5 years, homeless for 5 years. And surely, I said to him, there must be. There's like, I was giving him all these ideas. Look, contact. He didn't have a phone or anything. I said, look, come on, I'll help you. What do you want? He said, no. He said, I'm actually at peace. He said, I don't want to be housed. He moves his tent around now and again, but he stays secluded in the woods. And he actually enjoyed that lifestyle. He said, I don't fit into Civvy Street. I don't know what's happened to him. This is a while back now. It's a different area to where I am now. But that's just one example of a veteran that It'd all gone horribly wrong for him. He'd had everything and lost it all. Guy was a sergeant, an ex-sergeant in the infantry. That's just one example, and this guy just believed he didn't fit into Civvy Street and therefore didn't want to live, and he wanted to live like that in a tent, homeless. So he wasn't asking to be housed. So maybe there's some veterans out there that are like that, maybe, that don't want to be housed. They want to, I don't know, live rough, live in the woods or whatever. And that's a big thing in the States. I know there was a time when a lot of Vietnam veterans just took themselves off into the woods and forests and just made a life for themselves off grid, out of the way. Now, talking of that, I've got a mate, and he's been on here with me, my mate Mike. My mate Mike used to live, believe this or not, Mike, I know you're watching this, mate. Mike lived in a tree house. Mike was homeless. Now, Mike had everything. He's got a family, kids, wife, got a job. But again, very quickly, all that broke down, and Mike found himself homeless and living in a tree house. I've seen photographs of where he lived in this tree house. And he had a good setup, let me tell you. He even had the kitchen sink, isn't that right, Mike? But Mike had a great setup, living in a tree house near a stream, very self-sufficient, and that's how he lived. Eventually, he got housed, and he got himself a nice flat. Well, they got him a flat, and the Royal British Legion come along and carpeted the place for him. So he got assistance, and he's quite happy now to live in his flat. But it's this time of year, it's coming up. We're in winter, more or less. We're in November now. Winter's fast approaching. It's been mild lately, but it's getting colder. And it's getting near Remembrance, which is always a time when some veterans can suffer the most with their mental health, etc. And it's also getting near Christmas. That's the next big thing on the calendar, isn't it? And it's just sometimes I think about all homeless people, but especially veterans, because that's what I can relate to. I just think of these people in doorways or in a tent out in the woods somewhere living. It's heartbreaking. It's quite heartbreaking for me. And I don't know. So maybe some of you out there have got experience of either being homeless or knowing somebody or helping somebody that's homeless. I'd like to hear your views. And also, what's a good charity? Of all and there's a massive amounts of homeless charities out there, because the government's not really doing it. They say 3.2 million, but come on. This country survives on charity. It really does. If all the charities suddenly disappeared, we'd be in a right old state, wouldn't we? But I'd be interested to know your views, because I know there's some very intelligent people out on my comments out there subscribing to me and watching me. And I'd like to know what's your views, what's a good charity that supports homeless veterans in particular. Because maybe, me and Trace around said we're hanging our boots up after we've done that last 80-mile and 8-day challenge. That was tough. And I'm getting older anyway. And so we're going to hang our boots up and maybe not do any more charity tabbing. But there's other ways of raising money. And I'm always looking for something to help out. And homeless veterans is something that tugs at my heartstrings a little bit. I really do think of those lads, because, you veterans out there and you serving people out there, you know what we go through in our service and how much we dedicate ourselves to the job we do. And then we come out and not always through our own fault, we can end up on the scrap heap, I suppose. One way of putting it. And these poor veterans that are living rough and they're getting older. I know they've got a few more survival skills, shall we say, better trained to look after themselves in inclement weather. They're very resourceful people, us veterans. We can, not saying we live off the land like Rambo, but we can get by, and we know how to look after ourselves. But, mate, what can we do about it? Well, you're never going to cure it, are you? As I say, some veterans seem to be content with being homeless. But, I don't know. I'm a bit lost for words on this one. Because it's quite upsetting the more you think about it. So, yeah, I think this time of year, should think about veterans a bit, and homeless veterans that have given that duty to their country, served their country in difficult times. Not a great deal of thanks for what you do. And then they come home and end up on a scrap heap, and then they end up homeless. So, yeah, just spare a thought now and again. If you see someone homeless, could well be a veteran. But let me know if you think of a good charity that maybe I could do something for it next year somehow. There's a bit of support from you guys out there as well. I know you'd support me if I do come up with some crazy challenge. I don't know if I can do it, my old bones, but certainly have a go. So, this will be my last tab now before Remembrance. Today is Friday. I'm going to trace around jumping in the motor early hours of tomorrow morning, heading off to Kent, where we'll be for 2 or 3 days. And we'll be parading obviously on Remembrance Sunday, and then again on the Monday, on Armistice Day, we'll go into town and do something for that as well, I'm sure. So, all the best to everybody, and if you're new to my channel and you haven't subscribed, please consider it. I'm not saying do it, I'm saying consider it. Till next time, troops, stay safe, keep warm. And just think of homeless veterans at this time of year. Till next time, troops. Stay safe. Let's tab.